Could you explain to our audience what exactly moral injury is and the potential of psychotherapeutic therapies on moral injury, especially as it relates to our current pandemic?
Absolutely. That's a big topic. And I'll give you a quote from one of the veterans I talked to years ago that I think really defines what moral injury is. And this veteran told me years ago, Ruth, I cannot look anyone in the eyes for fear that they will see the stain on my soul for what I did. And I think that's really the essence of moral injury, having done something or not done something or witnessed something that goes against your moral standards. So one example, from a military member would be if they saw a child being killed in battle and they weren't able to help the child. And they come back home and they're torn apart about this. They're imagining, what, the father thinks about this child now. And often they relate this to their own child. If they have a child, how would I feel if I had lost my child like this and I wasn't able to help? And so they're torn apart inside. And, they often say, I feel like this is eating me inside. It's this gut-wrenching, visceral feeling of, just badness and awfulness that literally eats people inside. And we know from Brett Litz's work and other work that this is also very much associated with suicide. And it's very difficult for individuals to talk about. And so when they have this moral injury and when they have this experience of shame, people often look down. They can't look anyone in the eye, right? Because if anybody was to look them in the eye, they would know what a bad person they are. And so not only is it incredibly distressing for the individual, but I think it also really affects their capacity to interact with others. And they become isolated, which of course further increases the risk for suicide. How does this relate to the COVID-19 pandemic? And I think this has been a topic that's been discussed very much in the COVID-19 pandemic, especially with regard to healthcare workers, right? And so there's moral distress around, if I get sick, will I give COVID to my elderly parents or to other family members who will then be significantly affected? Or, another moral distress is around, we know so little about this virus, right? There's not enough I can do for people. And moral distress and moral injury can also relate around feeling betrayed by an institution. So especially at the beginning of the pandemic, when we didn't have enough personal protective equipment, I think a lot of healthcare workers really felt like they're being thrown to the wolves and that there's nothing there to protect them. And so those feelings of betrayal, I think, were also very high. So this is something that is very much associated with post-traumatic stress, with depression, with suicide, and it's something very important to be aware of.